Chapter 4. Patrick. I'm still thinking about my odd meeting with Piper when I enter Dave's office. I don't usually go to group meetings right after running, but Amelia's playdate was canceled today due to a sick kid, and I know that as soon as I get home, she is going to want to spend time with me. I didn't want to get her excited just to have to leave again. Thankfully, my friend Chris was able to watch her, and my brother's office has a bathroom with a shower, so I'll be able to clean up before attending the meeting and return home after. "Don't be late," Dave hollers as I jog past his office door. He's a stickler for time, but I understand his position. He gets paid by the hour, and he wants to get the most benefit for his clients in that time. If people are late, it throws off the schedule. Of course, I'm not paying him, but he doesn't want his clients to think it's okay to be late. "I'll be quick," I holler back, and disappear into the bathroom. The shower is short but effective, and I'm sitting down in the group 15 minutes later. 5 minutes after that, the rest of the group begins trickling in. They are a motley crew to be sure. The first one to enter is Glenda, who is in her late 60s and about as traditional as they come. She's always the first one, besides Dave and me, as she has a fear of being late that stems back to an abusive father. In her words, punctuality is equated with godliness, and if you're on time, then you're late. She is working on her confidence in new situations because she often shuts down when she doesn't know the people in the room. Another gift from her father. "Good morning, Glenda." Dave gives her his therapist smile. I don't know how he does it, as we look a lot alike. But somehow, when he smiles, it exudes this feeling of care and concern, like you are all that matters to him in that moment. She smiles back, reminding me of our grandmother who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. "Good morning, Mr. Stepp. Patrick." She nods at me, then takes her seat and folds her hands in her lap. Because we look so much alike, all the people in this group know that I'm Dave's brother. But thankfully, none of them have a problem with me being here. Ned enters next. His shaggy brown hair still covers his eyes, and his shirt looks like it came straight from the 70s. Ned is working on his self-esteem in pretty much every area. He's so shy around people that he can't even order food at a drive-thru. And though he wants to get married, talking to girls is out of the question. After returning Dave's greeting, he sits down next to Glenda. Bruce is next, and he is the antithesis of Ned. With his excessively muscled body and his gaping tank tops, his persona screams, "Look at me!" The only problem is that once people do, he overcompensates for his low self-esteem by being a complete jerk. He sits down next to Ned, and then the last group member arrives. Lauren is the youngest client. She's a high school senior who wants to gain confidence speaking in public. She's okay one-on-one, but definitely clams up when in front of a large audience. Her goal is to become a teacher one day, and though she knows kids are different, she's afraid she'll have a similar reaction in front of them, or even at the interview, keeping her from getting hired. "Okay, it looks like everyone is here," Dave says when they've all sat down. "Let's chat about our week. Who wants to go first?" Bruce lifts his hand. He is almost always the first one to speak. "Someone told me I must work out to overcompensate this week, and I didn't say anything negative back." "That's great, Bruce. What did you say?" He puffs out his chest. "I told them I didn't need to overcompensate and offered to challenge them to a lifting or measuring contest." He grins at the rest of the group, and I shake my head softly. Lauren's and Glenda's faces are both red, and I can't gauge Ned's reaction because I can't see his eyes. Dave, in true therapist fashion, displays no emotion. "Well, that's definitely better than hitting him or responding unkindly," he says.
But it still seems as if you're worried about what people like that think, and our goal is to get you beyond that."
Bruce's smile falters a little.
"I guess I can see that. I should have just walked away, right? Or just said you had no need to overcompensate and end the conversation there. Challenging them to either contest is still trying to prove that you're better. Did you know this person?"
Bruce shakes his head.
"Will you ever see them again?" "I don't know. If they come into the gym, I guess." "So then why do you care what they think? This person isn't a family member or a friend. You know you work out because you like how it makes you feel, and that's all that matters. Focus on the health aspects and leave it at that. That being said,"
he continues, seeing the dismay on Bruce's face,
"this is much better than how you would have handled it last week."
Bruce's smile returns and he pulls his shoulders back.
"Yeah, it is. Last week I would have called them a rubber-necked pencil pusher."
Dave chuckles.
"Definite improvement, then."
He turns his attention to the rest of the group.
"Okay, who's next?"
Glinda lifts her hand, which surprises me, as she's usually last. "I attended a wedding last night."
"That's great. Whose wedding was it?"
"Well, I don't rightly know. I was supposed to be attending my nephew's wedding, but I think I got the address confused because I didn't recognize anyone there. I thought maybe it was just because I hadn't been to many family events for a while, but when the ceremony started, I realized I didn't know the groom either." Her eyes are as wide as saucers when she lifts her face. "I think I crashed a stranger's wedding." This time, I have to cover my mouth to keep from laughing. The idea of Glinda crashing a wedding is hilarious.
"What did you do?"
I managed to get out. "I thought about leaving, but then I realized this was a good place to practice since I didn't know anyone and the food looked good, so I just stayed." "You stayed?" Lauren asks, her eyes wide. "What did you say?" "I told them I was a friend of the family. No one even questioned me. It was just like you said, Dr. Stepp. If I acted confident, no one would second-guess me." Dave smiles at Glinda.
"That's wonderful, Glinda. Did you stay the whole time?"
Glinda drops her eyes to her lap. "Well, no. I didn't know anyone there, and I'm not a very good dancer, so after dinner I slipped out."
"I'm still really proud of you, Glinda. That's more than you could have done weeks ago."
She lifts her head and grins at Dave. "I know, and it's all thanks to you." He shakes his head.
"No, I just gave you the tools. You did the hard work. You guys are all doing the hard work."
He turns his attention to Ned and Lauren.
"Did either of you have something to share this week?"
Ned glances up, and for a second I can see his eyes, but then he drops his gaze again.
"I had a busy week with work, so I didn't get out much,"
he says softly.
"That's okay. That kind of thing will happen. What about you, Lauren?"
She shakes her head but doesn't offer an explanation. Dave goes over a few new techniques he wants us to try before the next meeting, and then ends the session.
"How are things for you?"
he asks me when the others have gone.
"Things are pretty good,"
I say, grabbing a chair to help him stack them.
"There's a woman I'm interested in, but she just broke up with her boyfriend."
His eyes shoot to me and I hold up my hands, because I know that look and I don't need a lecture.
"I'm not planning on asking her out right away, but this guy did a number on her, and she just got turned down for a promotion at work. So I'm hoping there's something I can do to help her confidence. I gave her your information, but I'm not sure she'll actually come. Do you have any other suggestions on how I can help her?" "Words of encouragement are always good. Also, see if you can get her to try new things. A lot of times, a lack of confidence is simply fear of the unknown. If you can get her to overcome that, the rest becomes easier. Have you thought about taking her to your game night group?" "I actually hadn't thought about that, but she probably likes games, at least ones like Scrabble. I see her do the crossword puzzle every day. And it would be a good place for her to talk to people she doesn't know since it's so low-key.
We push the stacks to the side.
I'll try that and see if I can get her to try other new things.
I'm still pondering his words as I enter the front door of my house later. As soon as the door opens, I hear the patter of footsteps and am accosted by Amelia throwing herself at my knees. "Daddy, you're home!"
I am, Bug. Did you have fun with Chris?
I ask, swinging her up into my arms. She nods and places her arms around my neck. "I did. We played dolls and hair salon and made cookies, but she said to save the nail painting part for you."
Oh, she did she?
By this time, I've reached the kitchen, and I lift a brow in question at Chris as she wraps up a plate of cookies. Chris has been my best friend since high school. Most of our peers thought we would end up together, but we always connected more on a sibling level than a lover's one. I'm infinitely glad for that now because Chris has been by my side for everything the last few years, and I don't think I would have made it through without her. She smiles and shrugs. "I think it's a prerequisite for fatherhood that you let your daughter paint your toes at least once." The thought is abhorrent to me, and not just because my daughter is 5 and can't color in the lines, but also because I know I'll forget the polish is there one day and show my bare feet at the most inopportune time. I know this because this is how my life goes.
Thanks for that.
"How was the session?" she asks.
"It was good,"
I say, setting Amelia down. She scurries into the living room to get her nail salon in order. I wish I could tell her more, but confidentiality is important in groups, and Dave would kill me if I ever broke that rule.
Can I ask you something, though?
Of course. What's up? She pulls out a bar stool, sits, and gives me her full attention. This is another thing I like about Chris. She is always willing to lend an ear when you need one.
How long do you think a guy should wait to ask a girl out after her previous relationship ends?
Chris's eyebrow lifts. "There's a girl?" I sigh.
Yeah, there is, but she'd been seeing someone until just recently. In fact, this morning on the way to group, I caught her up in a tree spying on the guy, and she told me he hasn't returned her texts or calls for over a week.
Chris looks at me as if I've just sprouted a third eyeball. "Well, maybe that's because he caught her spying. I don't think you should date a woman with stalker tendencies, period." I chuckle and shake my head as I try to picture Piper stalking anyone.
Piper is not a stalker. She is normally the most down-to-earth, slightly nerdy girl-next-door type. But I guess this guy is the first one to have shown interest in her, and she's afraid no one will again. Plus, she just got passed over for a promotion at work, so her confidence is nearly non-existent right now.
"And you want to swoop in and save her?"
I don't know if I'd put it like that, but yeah, I want to help her. Plus, I like her. I wanted to ask her out a few months ago, but I didn't have the guts. And when I finally built up the nerve, she was seeing this guy.
"Well, I definitely think it's too soon to ask her out. Did you talk to Dave about it?"
Of course I did. I gave her his card, too. But I don't know if she'll come. Dave said to just be a friend and get her to try new things.
Huh. Maybe I could be a therapist because that was going to be my suggestion too, Chris says with a smile. I roll my eyes.
Thanks a lot.
"Daddy, are you ready?" Amelia calls from the living room. Chris places a hand on my arm. "And that's my cue. Good luck with the girl. Let me know how it goes." She nods her head toward the living room and my imminent torture. "Now, go get your nails done."
Thanks a lot for that, too,
I call after her. "You're welcome." The front door shuts, and I'm left alone with my daughter, her smile, and 3 bottles of nail polish.
Let me get a towel. There's no way I'm letting this stain the carpet.